The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know.
It was a feeling of pride and accomplishment for homeowners as they turned the key to the first homes in the government's new housing project in the Renaissance community at Carmichael. A single mother was one of the 6 first-time homeowners. Miss Matter, whose son has special needs, said the journey to home ownership was not an easy one, but was worthwhile now that she can live comfortably.
Right now, I've never been to heaven, but it feels like heaven on earth, and the feeling is indescribable. It's just a joy and a blessing that my son could be in the comfort of his own home.
Another recipient of keys was a teacher, Miss Daxon. She was lost for words as she described the moment she's dreamed about.
Can't explain it. You just excited. Something that you've been hoping for, wishing for all your life, and it finally came through. That's just by the grace of God. God is possible and He's able.
Housing Minister JoBeth Colby Davis said that owning a home is a basic necessity of life, and the government is continuing its work across the Bahamas in making affordable home ownership a reality for Bahamians.
In our blueprint for change, we promise to empower Bahamians by making our economy work for all Bahamians. Under our Homes for Bahamians program, we committed to housing as a basic right and to pursue public-private partnerships to develop new subdivisions. The Renaissance at Carmichael Village is a fulfillment of our pledge.
Prime Minister Philip Davis, in his remarks, said that this administration is fully committed to assisting Bahamians in their advancement to home ownership because that's how the economy will continue to thrive.
We recognize how important it is to prioritize government initiatives that help Bahamians achieve security and build wealth. The Renaissance will eventually comprise up to 200 affordable homes in southern New Providence. That means 200 more Bahamian families will have a place to call home, a place to raise their children, a place to build memories and community.
Keeping you in the know, this is OPM Press Now.
The Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press conference keeps Bahamians in the know. Each week, we also feature a new Bahamian food business.
Many of these businesses were started during the pandemic, and they really highlight Bahamian resilience and ingenuity. Today, we have
Kathy's Bakery,
Nutty Bavarian Bahamas,
proud owner of Sensational Goodies Pastries.
Get your small business featured in the weekly OPM press conference and share your dream with the country.
Good morning and welcome to the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing. It is a pleasure to welcome you, whether you're joining us virtually or here in the gallery. Certainly there's been a lot happening around the country over the past few days and weeks, and we're going to address those in our press conference today. Without further ado, I am going to introduce Deputy Press Secretary Keishla Adderley, who is going to introduce our guests for today.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you, especially considering the weather that you had to brave this morning to get here. It's good to see all of you. Well, this morning we have a lot to get to, as was indicated earlier. We're going to focus on quite a few areas, priority areas for this administration. They include the management of crime, lowering the cost of energy in the short and long term through our electricity service provider, BPL. And we're going to talk to another, speak to another very current issue and problem, which is that of road repairs. We have representatives from the Ministry of Works who will address their plans going forward to address problems with road corridors here in New Providence and across the Family Islands. We are going to be joined in just a few minutes by Mr. Siobhan Cambridge, who is the CEO of the Bahamas Power and Light. And I'm sure there are a lot of questions for Mr. Cambridge regarding what is happening with BPL, and he will be happy to address the questions that you may have regarding that. We have another few guests to get to, or speakers to get to, but in the interest of time, I'm going to call on Mr. Cambridge, who will start us off with what's happening at BPL. Mr. Cambridge.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, so this morning I've been charged with just giving an update as to where we're at with BPL and some of the issues and things that we're doing to address them over the course of the next couple of months and years. What I will do first is probably just go through a prepared statement, and then we can get into any questions and answers that you may have, okay? So, as we all know, meeting the country's needs is BPL's core priority, and we have had some success over the years, and admittedly, like most utilities of our size and makeup, we have our challenges. We believe we are making steady progress in arresting our most recent challenges and creating a path for greater energy security and sustainability of our country. So, the primary areas that are of concern or that most customers see would be our generation and T&D issues. And so our current available generation in New Providence, I just want to say, exceeds 300 megawatts, which allow us to meet what is already shaping up to be our highest consumption peak on record. The temperatures, as we all know, over the course of the last couple of weeks have been record-breaking. We initially had planned, or our forecasts were indicating that we were going to see about a 265 megawatt peak this year. So far this year in New Providence, we've already peaked at 278 megawatts, and our peak month is actually August and September, so we anticipate going well above 280 at this point. Likewise, in the Family Islands of Eleuthera and Exuma, we're also seeing record peaks, and we're ensuring that additional generation is available to meet the new summer loads in those locations as well. So in addition to generation, we're also bolstering our T&D network in New Providence to handle the demand. It's not only generation, but when you have this demand, lines, the ability to get that power to places where people are using them is a key thing. And some of our circuits are already seeing serious loading concerns, and we're making the necessary steps to reinforce those circuits where possible and as quickly as possible. So you may see a lot of activity going on some of the streets with us planting new poles and the like. So we continue to prepare there as well as to do the normal things, the tree trimming and the like, to ensure that the integrity of the network is sustained in the event of any wind events and weather events. It's not just hurricanes. Trees on lines saturated with rain actually become conductors, causing shorts and outages. And the reality of it is that we don't do live line work here, and so when we do that type of work, we have to isolate those networks. So from time to time, there will be outages related to those type of activities. They're not load shedding activities. I would like to stress that they're not load shedding activities, but I like to refer to them more as system reinforcement works and regular maintenance that have to be done, and we have to make sure that the system is safe for operators to operate on. The next thing that is of major concern or of been recent conversation is renewables. And of course, we're maintaining our existing operations is critical to the organization, but we must be forward thinking. And in the arena of renewables, admittedly, we're playing catch up to a certain degree. While our government continues to advocate for global policy change, we must look within our borders to do what we can to reduce our carbon footprint. And equally as important, we must create greater energy security for the country. What does that mean? The current commitment, I think, is to 30% integration by 2030. And right now, we're teetering around 5%. So, and we have an annual production of about 1.7 million megawatt hours, or 1.7 tetrawatt hours, and that is done primarily right now using fossil fuels. And our primary fuels that we use are heavy fuel oil, or advocacy, as most of you may know the common name, and automotive diesel oil. Our reliance on both of these fuels have made us susceptible to the volatility of fuel pricing on the global market, and neither are considered to be the premier fuels or trending now in terms of environmental friendliness. So for us to demonstrate and walk the talk, we're going to have to make some appreciable dents in our renewable penetration. How do we intend to do that? Getting to 30% by 2030, less than 7 years from now, requires a serious commitment from our key stakeholders to aggressively pursue renewable energy penetration, not only in New Providence, but in the Family Islands. As the major energy provider in the country, BPL's adoption of renewables is integral to establishing a modern utility, which is the most obvious benefit being the cost efficiencies derived from power generation and maintenance. BPL's RE strategy. Long-term renewable energy is to have at least 60 megawatts of utility-scale generation in New Providence, as well as another 20 plus megawatts of renewable energy of varying sizes and configurations in the Family Islands. We are cognizant of the financial and statistical and logistical realities of integrating 80 megawatts of solar-only renewables at this time. Instead, BPL is adopting a short and medium-term project strategy, and that is going to be to install at least 40 megawatts of renewables within New Providence within the next 3 years, and we're looking to get to that 60 megawatts within 5 years. And in the Family Islands, we're looking to get that 20 megawatts rolled out within the next 5 years. More specifically, within the next year, our intention is to install a 20 megawatt solar farm in New Providence. That solar farm is estimated to be around $40 million in costs, not including the land and everything else that was involved in it. And based on our current stuff that we have in our business plan, we are planning to have that commissioned by late 2024. $40 million is a significant investment, but the returns and the benefits from that outweigh the costs. We foresee that type of capital investment driving down the fuel costs. And so basically our estimates are that that's going to result in about a 2 cent per kilowatt hour decrease in the fuel charge. Based on our current sales and production, every 1 cent is about $15 million a year in revenue when you look at it in terms of on our rate, just for those of you who want to play with some numbers in your head and keep busy while I keep talking. All right, so essentially customers who are paying about 18.5 cents per kilowatt hour now, that would result in a reduction to about 16.5 cents for those customers. Okay, so the savings aren't just from the elimination of fuel, but when you eliminate the fuel, you also do away with the cost of the capital involved with the conventional generation, as well as all the maintenance costs. Renewable systems don't require the same amount of maintenance as reciprocal engines and stuff that have to be maintained annually. And so there are a number of other knock-on benefits, and of course the emissions benefits and what that means for us in demonstrating our seriousness about this commitment to more efficient generation. We also have plans to invest in the RE for the Family Islands. Most of you have probably seen or heard about the Ragged Island project. And the intent is to try and replicate that in some of our BPL installations. But some of that work is also being done in conjunction with a unit here at OPM called the Project Execution Unit. They're taking care of some of the smaller islands like Maikal, Mayaguana, Inagua, Crooked Island, Acklands, and Long Key. And those systems are estimated to be around 1 megawatt systems in those, or less in those particular islands. And then we have plans to do some of the larger ones, the San Salvadors and the Cat Islands and stuff. We're going to be doing those in-house at BPL. The other one that would be, I guess, of interest, while it may have been an unfortunate event, the events in North Andros recently provided us with the opportunity to put a leaner, greener solution in there, and we're also designing a hybrid system to rebuild back in there within the next 12 to 18 months. Let's see, where am I? Okay, so again, the fuel savings alone from these projects is not just the only thing. These projects, we see ourselves having a return we'll be able to break even on them within 15 years or so, and these projects have a lifespan of 30 to 40 years. So this is part of the long-term projection of digging BPL out of the financial hole that it is in. While we recognize that these projects require significant investment that must ultimately be paid by the Bahamian people, we truly believe that the renewables is the best solution for modern Bahamas, and that we must make the investment now so that we can build a leaner and greener utility. The other matter that I've spoken to recently has been the tariff study to afford the RE projects and all the other things that we have going on, to provide BPL with the financial capital it needs to become a better utility and to make the efficiency enhancement investments that are necessary to drive down the cost to me and to you. We need to right-size our tariff. The reality is that BPL hasn't had a rate increase since 2010. And we are presently working to release an RFP for a tariff study that will help us to restructure our rates to allow BPL to meet its current financial obligations, as well as to ensure that our revenue is sufficient to meet the country's future needs. Once the tariff study is completed, we will be working along with our stakeholders on a strategy for rate adjustments across all classes. This will be a major undertaking, but inevitably it will reap the benefits for a leaner, greener utility, where efficiencies drive down the cost of energy, and at the same time create the energy security we need as a small country. The tariff study is also going to introduce us, or we're hoping to introduce a lot of the concepts that other utilities are utilizing in their billing strategies, things like budget billing, time of use, demand side, EV rates, and all of these type of things that we are coming to expect and deserve from our utility in the modern era. We are hopeful for the support of all our stakeholders in all of these ventures, including our customers and consumers, as we strive to build for better until better becomes best. That brings me to the end of my prepared statement, and if there are any questions or concerns, I'm prepared to entertain them at this time.
Yes, why are fuel charges up if oil prices are down across the
Okay, fuel prices are perceivably, well, not perceivably, but they're up while oil prices are down, because we undertook a strategy a few years ago whereby through the hedging program, the decision was made to fix the fuel charge at a certain price, and that price was held throughout the COVID and Dorian and all the rest of that relief, which resulted in a bit of an under-recovery. When that was initially put in place, I think the policy statement that I saw was that it would have been reviewed within a year, but things changed drastically very quickly, and so for economic reasons, the decisions were made to hold the price at 10.5 cents to provide the relief to consumers during that period. And we're now having to pay for that under-recovery. At some point, we're going to have to pay for that fuel, and the glide path strategy was put in place in February of this year to allow us to recover that cost.
You mentioned in your address about tariffs and the possibility or the plan to implement a rate increase that would help assist BPL, I guess, with paying certain things. When are we hoping to implement that, and I guess what that process could look like?
Okay, a full comprehensive tariff study as envisioned by our RFP is going to take 6 to 12 months. And basically, it's not just about increasing price, but it's a combination. Your bill is a combination of two things. It's your base rate and your fuel charge. So basically, in order to get more efficient engines, you have to invest capital. And that capital cost is normally recovered through your base rate. So we envision there being an increase in the base rate as a result of the things that we have in our CapEx and our plans for expansion and efficiency enhancement. But at the same time, those investments are going to allow us to drive the fuel cost down. And we envision the fuel cost going down sufficiently to offset the increase in the base rate, as well as to provide you some discounting. So the net impact to the consumer is planned to be less.
So the fuel costs don't go down as anticipated?
Well, we can't never say what exactly is going to happen with the fuel cost, because we're dependent on the fuel market. But as we move away from fossil fuels and more towards renewables, we take that variability out.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister said in the House that the new whatever engines never worked properly. Do you understand what he's talking about?
Yes, I understand what he's talking about. And I know there's been much about us two being at odds, but I think what the PM was getting at was recently I had the opportunity to brief him, and basically it was that the engines were designed to operate a certain way, but certain amendments and modifications were made during the project execution that has resulted in them not performing as the project was originally envisioned, and that has resulted in some eating or eroding of some of the fuel savings benefits that were envisioned with the project, as well as some of the operational and performance issues. To be more specific, the engines were originally supposed to be tri-fuel engines, a standalone plant. I think some events occurred during the planning phases of that required an immediate need for additional capacity, as well as the time constraints. And so there were some modifications made to the original design, and that has resulted in the production or the ability of those units to produce as they are designed to be in somewhat compromised.
With the Wärtsilä project, I think the project would have ended in 2022, if that's correct.
I think you're making reference to the Wärtsilä contract, the O&M contract. Okay, so the Wärtsilä plant, I think, started somewhere around 2018. It was commissioned, we first got commercial power from that unit in December of 2019. At that time, the decision was made to put the operation and maintenance of that plant in the hands of the OEM, which would be Wärtsilä. And they had a 2-year contract, which was subsequently extended for another year into a 3rd year. But in reviewing that contract, we had some concerns, and not really with Wärtsilä, but just with the efficiency or of that, the efficacy of that whole arrangement in terms of from a financial and operational perspective. And so we made the decision to cancel that contract in 2022, in December of 2022, and we've taken over the management of the plant, the O&M, ourselves.
To follow up on the engines, they're not tri-fuel or they are tri-fuel?
The engines are not tri-fuel. Originally, the original proposals we received were that they were to be tri-fuel. And as I said, I think some decisions were made based on time constraints and costs and other things, and the immediate need for capacity. So while they're not tri-fuel ready, they're tri-fuel capable, and that means that they would require some works to convert them to being tri-fuel. So they, as designed, they're dual fuel, they're LFO and HFO engines, and to get them to be tri-fuel will require an additional, at the time it was around about a £500,000 investment. I think we have made some recent inquiries, and that has gone up significantly as a result of all the things that are happening on the market with supply chain issues and the like.
That would just be the conversion to LNG?
That would be just converting them to LNG. So to convert them to LNG right now is estimated to be about maybe $4 million per machine.
Just a few weeks ago, ERCA released a statement saying that BPL is struggling to provide a basic service. Is there anything as CEO of a company that you could say to provide some sort of comfort to consumers to say that BPL is actually doing what they need to do to ensure that the lights stay on?
BPL is doing everything that they can do to keep the lights on. So basically, I interpret ERCA's statement as speaking to just how difficult it is during this time of unprecedented demand, as well as the challenges of trying to do that with a degree of underfundedness, which is why we're looking at the tariff situation, as well as some of the challenges that we have with our existing aged and compromised fleet. But our staff are doing, a wonderful job. The yeoman's task with, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So that's where we're at.
Ms. Cambridge, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate BPL's performance?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate BPL's performance as an 8. Yeah, and that comes just through basically. I am a part of a chat group with other CEOs from throughout the region, and the problems that we're having are not necessarily unique to us. As I said, the demand, everybody's having the same thing with the challenge with raising rates in this economic environment, and so I would say an 8.
Many consumers, I guess the success of BPL would really be rated by the lights staying on. I hear you talk about the circuit overload and all of that, the next thing. What do you say to consumers whose lights are off consecutively for 4 days?
I don't know of much instances where lights are off consecutively for 4 days, but and this is no excuse. But I follow just about everything power, and this is happening throughout North America. It's happening throughout the Caribbean with these challenges that we're having. As I mentioned to you, we have last year's predictions, and we do some high order modeling and stuff where they use 3-year averages and the like. So it's a scientific methodology that is utilized throughout the industry. Indicated that we would have should expect a peak of around 268 or thereabouts this year. We're now doing 278 megawatts as of last week as a peak. Our peak occurs in August and September. Last year, throughout the night, our minimum load was about 190 megawatts, and that arose from a period that went from about 6 o'clock, hit a peak around 9, 10 o'clock at the night, and dropped off at 11:30. This year, we're seeing a consistent 230 megawatts from 8 o'clock in the evening until 3 o'clock in the morning. Things have changed. This is a totally different environment. This is a perfect storm.
Yesterday, I understand Abaco had some issues at the airport. They don't have a generator, and the visitors were inconvenienced. What's happening there?
Airports and hospitals are our top priority. I haven't received a briefing as yet on what exactly happened in Abaco, but regardless of whether their generators are working, airports and hospitals, clinics are our #1 priority in terms of any outages and restorations. And that's as much as I can say to that at the moment.
For clarity, could you explain the base rate, what that is, how that would change after the tariff study, just for people who may not understand?
Okay, so the fuel charge is what we call a pass-through. So BPL makes no money off of it. It is whatever we pay for the fuel, it's apportioned and put on your bill on a per kilowatt hour basis. Okay, and it's not a real-time calculation because we don't know at the time of your billing what was used for this month, so it's normally lagging by 1 month. And so that is a separate component. The base rate is how we recover the cost for all of our other expenses, or the regulators would call it meeting your revenue requirements. So all the things like your salary, administrative costs, anything other than fuel is put into the base rate, and you're allowed to, you basically add all that up, say how many units you're going to sell, divide that cost by that, and that's basically what your base rate needs to be able to meet that cost. But also the regulator will tend to allow a certain amount on top of that for future investments and enhancement, efficiency enhancement, and what have you. And that is, according to our legislation, a highly regulated thing, and it's only prudently incurred costs that are allowed to be pushed through on that charge.
So with the tariffs and the base rate adjustment, is there a possibility, I know you mentioned about, I guess, adjusting the fuel charge when the tariffs come into play, but I think you also mentioned that you can't control what the price will look like of fuel at that time. So is there then a possibility that consumers could see an increase to their bills considering the adjustment and the fact that you can't control the price of fuel?
Well, whatever it would be, because of the measures that are taken, they will be mitigated in terms of keeping the cost down, because the cost would have been even more on top of that had these measures, or if these measures are not implemented. And again, you know, there are other things that you can do to secure the pricing on that side, like hedging and the like. You know.
Do you have an update with the situation in Luthra? I know they were experiencing some power outages as well. I think a resident told us last night that they were out for a number of hours.
I know, as far as I know, yesterday we were having some issues in the Governor's Harbor area with regards to a major transformer there, and we were working to correct that, and I'm advised that has been corrected, and that was the only area. What we actually did was we moved around some of the load and put it on some of the other feeders. You know, this may not be of interest to most of you, but basically, the average delivery time on utility scale transformers now is about 80 weeks. And we have a number of orders out there. We have our sister utilities asking us if we have transformers that we can lend, and we're assisting each other wherever we can.
Just earlier this week, the BEW said that they'll give the company 30 days to fix several issues, and if not, they'll take action. Any response to that?
I have no response to that other than to say that we are talking with the BEW at this time to resolve those matters.
How many people are disconnected now?
Disconnected, I can't say at this exact time, but I know on a daily basis we're doing about 300 to 600 disconnections and reconnections. And that's just solely based on our disconnection threshold. We still have a lot of people who, that's what prompts them to pay. So, yeah.
Are there further questions from Mr. Cambridge?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cambridge. We will now turn to the issue of road works, a very topical issue here in the city for sure. As you know, the Ministry of Works has undertaken to conduct road works here in New Providence and on the Family Islands. They have expanded their works teams to be able to do just that. We will speak now with the Ministry of Works representatives who can tell us about the timelines that will coincide with those works. Just introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Francis Clark. I am the Senior Civil Engineer at the Ministry of Works with responsibility of maintenance and construction. I have with me two of my colleagues, Mr. Aubrey and Simonet, who is responsible for the Village Road Improvement Project and other road construction project, and Ms. Behia Herburn, Assistant Engineer, who is responsible for our road maintenance and management system. As you all are aware, there's a correlation between potholes and rain. We know that the rain intensity has increased over the last few years, and due to the more active precipitation events during June and July, the conditions have been hindered for current road repair efforts with ponding and wet areas and compromising the quality of repairs. This has resulted in larger potholes and road edge erosions. If you could compare the new roads that we constructed between 2004 and 2013, those roads were constructed to international standards and using international specifications. We don't have any issues with those roads at this point with respect to potholes. Rain is the culprit that causes our road to be damaged. So once it rains, if the water has an inability to drain itself, then it will pond and compromise the sub-base, and then a pothole can start from size of a quarter into 2 to 3 feet overnight. But if you look at our newer roads, it is performing very well. Let me go to my next statement. Fortunately, within the last few weeks, we've had some fair weather, and we resumed some of the repair works within the roads in New Providence. Our staff from the ministry have 12 private contractors are working diligently to repair our roads day and night through a pothole patching program. We appeal to the public to exercise patience as there may be lane closures and traffic diversions to ensure repairs are completed. During road repairs, you may have some delays. That's what the public will understand, that we will have men there and flag men, and there will be some delays. But we have a tendency not to have any road closures before 9 o'clock. So the road closures will be between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. because that is the peak hour time. I want you to know that at all times, the ministry is always fully aware of the concerns through our hotline and monitoring of more than 800 miles of road within New Providence, and also some of the private subdivisions. Now, I take this as a technical meeting because we are technical people. So this is just really a brief statement. And so at this point, I would like to ask if you have any questions that we can answer for you.
I have a quick question. You mentioned the high-performing roads versus the other roads. Is it that traditionally we just don't spend enough on road repairs and engineering to stop the short-term damage that we see?
You're correct. Infrastructure improvement is very expensive. One of the things what we learned during the Jose Cartoloni project is that once we start to excavate, we don't only take into consideration what's on top of the surface, like the asphalt, the sidewalks, street lamps, but what's below the surface. We have to ensure that the water lines, water and sewer lines, BTC lines, the telecommunication lines are all in ducts. So should there be any need to repair, they wouldn't have to excavate, they could just pull those out of the ducts. So yes, road construction is expensive.
Are there a set of roads that the Ministry of Works is looking to repair in terms of bringing it up to standard with those roads that you spoke about prior to 2014?
We desire to repair all the roads in New Providence. We have a few roads that are on the horizon. Of course, you are aware that we are completing Village Road. Mr. Simonet here, Engineer Simonet, is the project manager who have had oversight of that. On the horizon right now is Gladstone Road. That's going to be dualized. And we also have the Milo Butler Highway extension, which is going to be extended from Carmichael Road all the way to Cowpen Road. And we also are looking at doing some roadway improvement in the downtown areas. We are carrying out some underground studies, which will help us inform the design and the reconstruction of Dalswell Street.
So you're saying Milo Butler is going to go from Harold Road going straight down to Cowpen Road, that's me cutting through Faith Avenue then?
Yes, no, it's not going to cut through Faith Avenue, but it's going to be parallel with Faith Avenue. Okay, so right, so we will be going into some virgin land, and there are some residential buildings there that we need to accommodate those people who living in there. But the designs for Milo Butler extension is completed.
And when can we start to see that to materialize?
Well, we've been trying to get that materialized for a little while. One of the challenges is that the land acquisition, there are 11 dwelling homes there, and they need to be compensated before we can mobilize any contractor.
So what about movement on Gladstone Road? I know the Gladstone Road project has been something that's been talked about for a while, but nothing substantial, I guess, has happened. Do we have a timeline in terms of when that could happen? Has funding been secured? Because I believe that was an issue before.
Well, let me say, I'm not going to speak to the funding at this point, but I'll let you know the designs are substantially complete. What the designs have done for us so far, it has informed us of where we are going to be diverting the existing utilities and what lands need to be acquired. And so these are called advanced works. Before we allow the contractor to mobilize that site, we need to have the right-of-way cleared first. So if you travel along Gladstone Road right now, you would see on the eastern side of the right-of-way, there are some clearing, and this is to relocate the poles and the power lines to the eastern side, and also to notify property owners of lands that have been acquired.
Is that some Milo Butler extension being priced yet?
We have an estimate. I think That was carried out about maybe 2 years ago, about $30-something million. Yeah.
Closer to the 40 or closer to the 30?
I'd say we have estimated. As time goes by, prices increase. Cost of building materials and construction fuel, all those things increase.
I know you spoke about cost and all of that. Take, for instance, a 10-foot road, and the potholes that stretch along for about, 8 foot of it. Does it make sense to just patch those potholes or just repair the whole road?
Our desire is to repair the whole road. At the moment, the quickest thing to do is to stabilize the road to make it more safe. However, let me just speak about, since you mentioned, let me speak about our program. We currently use Bahamix, the Ministry of Works and Utilities paving contractor. They're the ones that produce the hot mix asphalt and also pave our roads. Due to the current roadway conditions at this time, we would need to utilize private contractors to help us stabilize these roads. Now, these roads, what I'm speaking about that we need to stabilize, it's just really paving or resurfacing it. It is not going to be constructed to international standard, but paving it will extend the pavement life to about 8 to 10 years.
We're talking about some serious deep holes now in this weather. Let's exacerbate the situation.
Say that again?
I say we're talking about some seriously deep potholes.
Yeah, we have 12 contractors in addition to our in-house road maintenance division. They are attending to the potholes, but there's a correlation. Our pavement, conditions are very bad, and once it rains, we will see potholes coming up.
I know a few weeks ago it would have been reassessed that a traffic manager could have been assaulted during him just working on closure somewhere. During the increase in road repairs that you're trying to do, is this something that you're concerned about, just making sure the safety of your workers?
We are always concerned about the safety of our workers, but most importantly, we are concerned about the safety of the public. It is important that motorists comply with the traffic manager and the traffic management signs because we have heavy equipment moving through, and there may be wide holes open there. If you go through, you may end up getting in an accident and getting injured by heavy equipment.
Since that instance that we would have known of, has there been any other instances?
No, we haven't had any since then. But there are always verbal altercation between the traffic manager and motorists.
Management signs and we know that those are important. There are a lot of bumps going up now, speed bumps. Once that's done, what about the markings for those? To let people know that they're there?
Okay, we call them speed humps. Let me just make the distinction between speed humps and speed bumps. Speed bumps are actually a little bit shorter. And once you go over there, they shake your car up. The speed humps are a bit longer, they're a bit wider, and once your car goes over those, your two-wheel base goes over it. So what it does is give you a smoother ride, but at the same time slow you down. So that's the difference. Now, with respect to getting those marked, we are undertaking, what we have recently done is we have divided the island of New Providence into 7 sectors. We have assigned an assistant engineer who would be the project manager, and they will take ownership of that area to provide reports on areas that need to be striping. That includes speed humps.
Are there plans for any more roads to be constructed to international standards anytime soon?
Yes, we just mentioned a few of those. Glaston Road, Milo Butler Highway Extension, and also we are at this time right now for Dowswell Street, Shirley Street, Dowswell Street, and Bay Street. We are doing some studies at those locations in downtown. As you're aware, the drainage system in downtown, they're old, they're ancient. They've been there maybe 60, 70 years. And they don't meet our 21st century standards. And so we're doing some underground studies right now, subsurface studies, which will help inform the design of those 3 roads that are parallel to each other, which is Shirley Street, Dowswell Street, and that portion of Bay Street, along with those interconnecting roads.
Are you able to give any kind of update on the Glass Window Bridge thoroughfare area?
No, I can't. That's a family island. I'm strictly New Providence.
I went to a presentation at the Ministry of Works about 2 years ago, and they had promised to start all of this works with regard to flood mitigation, putting in drainage systems, putting in swales. And I haven't seen it. 2 budgets have passed, and I haven't seen anything happen with it. What's going on with fixing with the flooding?
I'm not a drainage engineer. I can't really speak to that as much. However, we are making some headway to flood mitigation. The senior engineer who's responsible for that has advised that we have some pumps on the docks in Miami that's en route to New Providence, and several other appurtenances to help with flood mitigation. So I would say that one of the reasons why we're having flood on the road, right, is because our roads does not meet 21st century standards. Some of these roads were constructed 60, 70 years ago, and all we, just to allow for access so people can farm and construct their homes. And it was built and constructed to no standards. And so drainage has always been an issue and the enemy to road pavement infrastructure.
So how are they going to start?
I think it's already started. We just need to, I'm going to say, execute what we have. I can't give you a deadline on that. The project officer, he's not here. He's on vacation. He should be able to give you some timeline.
Further questions on that?
The uneven surfaces of the roads caused by those manholes. The roads are higher than, I understand the equipment was supposed to be on its way or whatever to put the steel thing over them.
Oh, you're talking about the drainage infrastructure? The drainage, the catch pits?
Yes.
Okay, let me just say that all of the Ministry of Works catch pits, they are not uneven. The problem that we be having with the frame and covers, particularly the covers, people have been stealing them. And so we have to keep replacing them. But now, because they're being stealed so fast right now, we have a welding shop that is assisting us in fabricating the frame and covers.
So how will that work? How will that work? How do you plan on putting them down for them not to be stolen?
Well, they're going to be welded. That's the idea. They will be welded. We also are bringing in the standard frame and covers that have a lock, so to prevent the theft of those.
Do you know what people are stealing them for?
There's a prominent metal, scrap metal industry here in New Providence.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
So that was a totally unexpected segue into our next topic, which is the issue of crime and the government's commitment to crime detection and prevention. Mr. Craig Cates, the CEO of Security Systems International, will now explain this new technology which will be implemented using CCTV and AI and how it will assist. Mr. Cates?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Craig Cates, and I'm the CEO of Security Systems International. Most of you know me as SSI. That's what our signs would normally read. Security Systems International, we started business 30 years ago, and we founded our company on the principle of quality, customer service, and state-of-the-art equipment. Since then, we have grown in size, our client base has increased, and so has our footprint. We have a complement of over 100 plus members of staff throughout here and our network in the Caribbean. We have a client base in excess of 6,000 customers, and we have a footprint extending from the Bahamas through the Turks and Caicos Islands to Anguilla in the north and all the way to Grenada in the south and west to Belize. I think that's pretty impressive for a small Bahamian company. Technology has evolved, and we have endeavored to provide these upgrades to both our commercial and our residential clients. And as part of the security requirements, most commercial enterprises have installed extensive CCTV or camera systems. Earlier in the year, we met with a cross-section of our clients to explore an opportunity to bring the private sector and their security assets to assist in crime detection and prevention with the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Today, that becomes a reality as we begin to provide real-time access to the cameras located at our clients' public spaces and parking lots. Attached to these video feeds, which are now terminating at the National Crime Center, are also advanced AI analytics and technology, which allows the National Crime Center to find people, vehicles, and assets of interest, and to have them notified automatically and immediately so there can be a response at the National Crime Center, at the nearest police station, or on one of their mobile devices. This AI technology is also going to be made available to our community, through our communities here in the New Providence and the Family Islands. And we look forward to the success of a dynamic partnership between the private sector and the Royal Bahamas Police Force and our partners. Behind you, or behind me, we see just a cross shot of some of the cameras which are actually active. These are all in public spaces. Unfortunately, I cannot show you cameras in private spaces from our clients. This is actually at Arawak Key, and we are observing the license plate of every vehicle that's passing. We are also observing the face of every individual who is arriving at Arawak Key. This is in real time. Watch it as it, sorry. As you see it, those are vehicle license plates which are being interrogated. It's telling us where it is, Arawak Key South, heading toward Bay Street. And it's looking and cross-referencing the database which has been provided by the Royal Bahamas Police Force for any vehicle that is stolen, license plate missing, vehicle has been swapped. The same thing applies for, and unfortunately we cannot show faces because you're innocent until proven guilty. We're also looking for individuals from the crime wanted list. We have about 5,000 customers, several thousand cameras, which are in the process of being fed into the AI technology. So it comes back to now Big Brother is definitely watching. And this is an offset of technology which is in every major city. It's in London, it's in New York. Most major cities throughout the world have this technology and use it for crime fighting and crime prevention. Not only are we looking for license plates or stolen vehicles, not only are we looking for faces, but we are also looking for assets. A gun, if it shows up in any frame of a picture, will immediately alert the police location and where it is. Fires, gathering of crowds, a fight, someone laying down for an extended period of time that may be injured. The AI technology is very diverse. It offers a lot of comprehensive solutions without the intervention of the police having to watch 24/7, because the alerts will go out automatically. If this vehicle was wanted, immediately a notification would go to the nearest police station, would go to the National Crime Center, and would populate to their cell phone or to their mobile device. Our clients for the last 6 months have been beta testing it, and we have onboarded a significant number of supermarkets, banks, hardware stores, malls, fast food restaurants, and the list goes on and on. Unfortunately, again, those are private contracts, and so private fees which go to the National Crime Center to be processed instantly. Ladies and gentlemen, there is the latest in AI technology, and we're proud to be a part of it.
Other questions? Mr. Gates? With the stolen vehicles, can you say how many, I guess, vehicles were detected or
Sure. In the beta testing only at Arawak Key, 81.
And that was in the span of
2 months.
How many public cameras do you foresee being put out, or I don't know, contractors put out, or
Several thousand. If you take the fast food restaurants, if you take wherever SSI has a presence, and you start multiplying those outward-looking cameras, parking lots, Mall at Marathon, for example, the entries to the Mall at Marathon, for example, we're looking for any face that is of interest.
are you going to be on streetlights as well?
That AI technology is extended into those cameras which are currently deployed.
I'm trying to understand something. Is this a private initiative?
This is a private initiative. We have come to the Ministry of National Security and the police with this offer. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cates. We'll turn now to the softer side of things. We're going to talk now with the founder of the Bahamas Strong Families Forever campaign, Ms. Cheryl Joaquin, and Dr. Anthony Hamilton, who will tell us about their latest initiative. Please.
Happy morning, afternoon, honorable members of the press. Our one nation, our legacy, our future will not be secured without family security. Pope John Paul II powerfully and truthfully declared, "As the family goes, so goes the nation, so goes the world." Social scientists have inserted, "so goes the children." The basic core needs, survival needs of family members are love, connection, acceptance, security, competence, progress, and autonomy or independence. When there's a lack or perceived lack of these basic core needs, hurt is created. People insecure due to deficiencies of these physical and spiritual needs become emotionally anxious, fearful, desperate, and angry. Anger leads to destructive, violent behaviors towards self, family members, and others, as we have so sadly and pervasively seen in our beloved country. Our nation is in a family hurt crisis, which is of monumental economic, social, and cultural consequence. Under the theme, Recognize, Stop, and Heal Family Hurt, the third annual National Family Week, which started July 25th and runs until July 31st, is being celebrated. The national observance is being spearheaded and supported by Marriage, Children, Family Alliance Movement, MCFAM, and the Bahamas Strong Families Forever campaign partners, a group of multi-sectorial stakeholders, including the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development and its subsidiaries, particularly Department of Gender and Family Affairs, Civil Society Bahamas, Queens College Center for Further Education, Office of the Governor General, SDGs unit of the Office of the Prime Minister, Office of the Spouse of the Prime Minister, J.S. Johnson Company Limited, SuperValue, Love 97 Issues of the Day, Global Radio, Guardian Radio, and Global FM, Transforming Lives, and others. We cannot consider the support of family created by our eternal Father God without the assessment of family spiritual security. We have seen families have stopped going to church to a large degree, both nationally and globally, even before the crisis of Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19 pandemic. This is a grave manifestation of hurt when children and families lose sight of the importance of their spiritual connection. This is in fact an attack on our omnipotent God himself, albeit in a passive-aggressive manner. Hence, as a part of our third National Family Week, we are grateful to have the partnership of Bishop Dr. Delton Fernandez and the Bahamas Christian Council in the inaugural observance of National Family Church Days, July 29th through the 31st. In these days, we encourage persons to celebrate by attending church together with their family on the Sabbath day. On their Sabbath day, pastors give empowering talks on family on their recognized Sabbath day. Non-essential businesses encouraged to close at least half day to allow employees spiritual time with family on a National Family Church Day. All business organizations promote National Family Church Days and encourage employees, members to attend church with their family on their Sabbath. Plan an evening at home with family and an annual Bahamas National Family Week with family prayer led by a family head or family-connected male in homes on July 31st at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. On Saturday, there will be a family fun beach outreach and fundraiser where there'll be family games and children's book giveaway at Montague Beach. We also, on Monday, we will also announce the 50 Road to 50 families who we will be honoring during our Family Heroes Legacy Affair event in October. Interestingly, as a part of our NGO and Concerned Citizens Council meeting yesterday, which was a part of our week of events, to explore partnership opportunities to support families. We recognize the family and families of NGO organizations are hurting. And this brings to light a completely different or expanded level of the level of family hurt in our society. I apologize for Bishop Delton Fernando, who was expected to be here, but he was unable to make it. But we will be having a meeting with him. I'm sure he would welcome you tomorrow morning at Assemblies of God Church at 11 a.m. I'm pleased to have with us, with me, President of Civil Society Bahamas, Dr. Hamilton. But before he comes, if there's any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Anthony Hamilton, the President of Civil Society Bahamas, which is the apex body for the NGOs throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And there's some 1,500 plus NGOs, which is a diverse sector of organizations that assist the community. And we think of this with a most important thrust of re-education, training, and development. As we've heard with regard to MacFam and the Strong Family Forever initiative, it's imperative to recognize that people are the most important assets and investments of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I think oftentimes we miss this, and our society has become very materialistic. As I listened this morning, Mr. Kate sharing with regard to the crime aspect, we see numerous evidence of the fact that our families are hurting in light of the things that we're experiencing, not only in New Providence, and I want to stress here too, this exercise is not a Nassau-centric exercise. It's an exercise for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. As I say that, I'm reminded of our forefathers by virtue of our preamble of and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It's imperative to recognize that our forefathers had a vision for this nation, not only our forefathers, but equally our forefathers and foremothers. And this is imperative in light of the bedrock of our society. Family is the bedrock of our society. And it's important that we ensure that we have a healthy family environment and atmosphere. I say that in light of also recognizing our children. We are experiencing numerous challenges, and these challenges stem directly from the quality of our homes. And it's important that we undergird and strengthen our families as MacFam, with the Strong Family Initiative, is exercising. As a member of Civil Society Bahamas, the various organizations, NGOs, there have been evidence of their significant contributions by way of our experience with the Dorian exercise recently, the experience of Dorian, not only with our local NGOs, but the external NGOs. And it's important to recognize that, again, people are the most important assets and investment. Equally with regard to the Dorian experience, we had the COVID experience. And again, it's about people. And what we're seeking to do here is to allow an opportunity for persons to be able to cooperate in a very tangible, very holistic and practical manner with relevance with regard to the healing process that must take place in our nation. As we speak to this, and mention made of Dr. Delton Fernando with regard to the Bahamas Christian Council, there's a partnership between the Bahamas Christian Council and Civil Society Bahamas in particular, speaking to all the NGOs throughout the country. We recognize that we have that diversity is speaking about NGOs that specialize in the environment, NGOs that specialize in education, NGOs that specialize in numerous other aspects of our society as a means of giving an outlet, but also encouraging participation with regard to the average citizen to be engaged and taking responsibility for the future of our society and ensuring that we have healthy families. As we say that, we recognize that wherever people are gathered, and strategically in our society, there's some entities that foster this kind of gathering. We think of the cooperative sector, credit unions and non-financial cooperatives as well, the unions, again, these are all evidence. The quality of their performance is directly reflected on the quality of people that we have to engage in these respective entities by virtue of leadership and also followership. So I thank you for the opportunity to be able to share this and encourage your participation. One of the things we miss in our society is that every citizen and resident is a part of the civil society sector. Oftentimes we encounter silos, which is a negative thing, and we're seeking to break all the silos. So there's a clustering exercise taking place in the civil society sector to make sure that we allow the respective participants to have better engagement and better performance. Because we find in our society, and I referenced the 1,500 NGOs, and there are more daily that are making, I got some calls this morning with regard to other persons interested. But one of the weaknesses here is the fact that many of these entities, as they are birth, are trying to do a million things, but we're trying to encourage them to recognize that you may be better at 10, you may be better at 5, and we want to encourage an environment that allows them to be better empowered to make better deliveries, which means that generally speaking, our resources will be better managed. And it fosters well with regard to representation, not only locally, but also regionally and internationally. Civil Society of Bahamas is also in partnership right now dealing with a debt management exercise in conjunction with the two other Caribbean nations, Antigua and Barbuda and Barbados. And that project is coming to close now along with the Bahamas, where we are seeking to facilitate financial literacy and also opportunities for people to better understand how they may manage their personal funds, but also on a national level, taking into account our historical management of our funds with regard to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I thank you very much.
Further questions for Dr. Hamilton? Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. Ms. Joaquin, thank you very much. Okay, we've reached the point in our program. If there are any further questions for the administration, I can take them now. Chester, I'm going to start with you. Okay. Are there any questions? Devontae? This is wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jade. Tribune.
Yes. With the press statements from the Ministry of Immigration and then the British Colonial Hotel, I believe they'll put out a press statement as well. The comments from those statements kind of conflict the statements that the minister himself would have said. In terms of the status of the workers, I just wanted to know if there's some clarification that the government will want to make with that.
Well, Prime Minister Davis has said formally and informally during interviews with the press, he's made it clear that this is something that will be fully investigated at the onset. He made it a point to clarify that this entire matter, which and all the concerns that came with it, would have a fair hearing. An investigation has been undertaken and continues to be undertaken, and any decisions and clarifications will flow from those investigations. But the intention is to get to the bottom of all of those matters so that there is no confusion, and the end game is to have a properly functioning, properly operating immigration system that holds the confidence of everyone, as the Prime Minister has indicated.
I know the Prime Minister also said that it's important to him to ensure that the public has confidence in immigration procedures. So when there's instances where the press statements may say something different in terms of the workers meeting certain requirements, and now minister or senior officials saying that they didn't, is the government taking into consideration that the public's confidence may be shaken?
All of that falls within the scope of the investigation. Any decisions or further pronouncements will be guided by the outcomes of the investigations. Yes, Bethany, please.
In the Prime Minister's statement, I think it mentioned something about the releasing of documents being a breach or breaking the law. I wanted to ask, I saw something last night, is the immigration director being investigated for such breach, and has she been put on leave?
Okay, that I would have to confirm for you whether, what the status of her employment is. I can look into that for you and get an answer to you by end of day. Sure.
I know that recently it was said in terms of the correctional facility that there was going to be a new figure, a revised figure. Is there a time frame when we would be able to get that?
I am not certain on that. Obviously, it's been indicated that the project has been significantly downsized. What is happening now is the total project is being revisited, what was added, what was taken away, and they are in the process now of coming to a conclusion on what the new cost will be, and as soon as that is available, it'll be passed on.
It's been several months now since this land issue, Carmichael Road. I asked several times, what's the update for that?
I don't have an update for that, unfortunately, but it's something that we are continuing to work on. Are there further questions? All right, we move now. Okay, go ahead.
Is the government concerned any about the situation with the U.S. and the Jamaica situation with the ambassadors, with this LGBTQ situation, whereby Jamaica decided to stand their ground, and now the U.S. has decided to send the ambassadors home?
Yes, we are aware of that. There's been no pronouncement from this administration on that situation facing Jamaica and its foreign affairs situation. All right. Thank you, everyone. We move now to the final segment, which will introduce our food business for today, Talmador Cakes. That's a little hard to say. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but it's TD Cakes for short. Charlicia Green will come now to tell us about her business.
Hi, good afternoon. So my name is Charlicia Green, and I currently own a bakery called TD Cakes Bahamas. It's a little boutique bakery located off Carmichael Road behind the Walk-Up Wendy's. At TD Cakes, we create cupcakes, cakes, cookies, brownies, everything from scratch every single day. And we pride ourselves on baking items from scratch. TD Cakes first got started in the kitchen of my grandmother from I was 7, and I've been baking ever since. And that's pretty much it. Today we bought a selection of our brownies, cupcakes, cakes, and our popular cheesecakes. They just took off. So we bought a selection of cheesecakes: birthday cake cheesecake, cookies and cream, cherry, and red velvet, which is a fan favorite. All right.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. That brings our press conference to a close. Please do not hesitate to call us with any questions or queries. We're happy to answer. Have a great day, everyone.